Good afternoon to everyone who's watching right now, especially the team that's responsible for setting up this webinar for our alumni community of Ateneo, alumni community of Singapore, and its leaders and volunteers and members. And I'm here to talk about creativity. So creativity is one of my most favorite topic. If you have seen me on my YouTube channel or anywhere on the web because I'm all over the place because I love recording myself and teaching. Creativity is something that drives my intensity or dictates the intensity of how I work, and it drives my passion to wake up every day and come up with something new, or as other people would put it, doing something that I've done before, but in a totally different way, in something that's probably more exciting. So today I want to talk about creativity as a part of our lifestyle, as a part of the human evolution. There's a lot of topic that I wanted, or a lot of talking points that I wanted to share with you today. But first, I want to start with that $1 million question. Are you creative? So when people would ask you this question, this is both um, encouraging and scary to some people, because there's a notion that for you to be creative, you have to have that certain personality, that flair in how you talk, how you move, how you interact with people. But honestly, if you're gonna limit creativity to those aspects, that defeats the very definition of creativity. Creativity, first and foremost, it's a lifestyle. It's something that you keep doing, and we are probably in different stages right now in our creative journey. So some are still exploring, some are already evolving, some are just like, some have plateaued. There's also that stage in the life of creative where such person, one person would not want to do anything else because burnout, tired, probably the environment is preventing that person to be creative. So those are things that you can think of. But going back to my point, where creativity, the question of are you creative, it's both scary and encouraging. Why encouraging? First is because probably there's something that you have done, something that you have said for that person to ask you if you are creative. Scary because on the other side of the spectrum, you might have looked like you're trying hard to do something or trying hard to look creative. So other people would tell you, "Are you creative?" So sometimes we take it as an insult, or as a challenge to what we're trying to do. But the reality is, everyone is by nature creative. I don't believe in. I mean, this is my opinion and based on my experience. I don't believe that creativity is limited to those people who draw, those people who play music, those people who are good in design. Creativity, first and foremost, it's problem solving. I'm going to talk about that aspect in a few minutes. But if we look at how we are created as humans, it was said it's said in the Bible that we are created in the image and likeness of our God, and God is the creator of all things, being created by a creator in the liken in the image of our creator. That proves that some part of who we are right now, there's creativity that exists. Again, that's my opinion, that's my experience, and that's how I deal with creativity, because I teach a lot of students who are in different stages of their creative journey. But for me, it's always about, hey, you probably don't know it right now, but dude, you're creative. You have something in you. You just haven't tapped into it yet. You just haven't used it yet. But there's something in you that shows or that proves that you are creative. And When you talk about creativity, you deal with scopes, and the thing about defining a scope of how a creative person is defined as a creative person, that can lead to a lot of problems. So you should look at creativity in a way that explores the heart, explores the why of why things are getting created or why people create things. That would lead you to a specific, what you call this, a specific DNA, specific structure of that specific person, why it proves that he is creative. So yeah, there are people who are really, like beast mode, or legendary in terms of drawings, in terms of paintings, in terms of illustration. I mean, myself, I'm involved in storytelling, so I can claim a part of myself as a creative person somehow, and I have achieved a bit in that stage of my life journey as a creative. Having worked with a lot of people, so I have my own company here in Singapore. I do a lot of creative stuff, even for big companies here in Singapore, MNCs. But in my experience, having those conversations with different peoples, with different type of conversation, with different reasons why questions are asked, with different purposes, with different goals. It's all a matter of finding that specific problem that needs to be solved. Business. I keep telling in every time I get invited to speak about business. Business is all about problem solving. once once you're a human being that was able to spot a problem, identify a problem, and that you dedicated time, effort, part of your life to solve that problem, that is specifically, that's a good business model. You can start changing your life, just by changing, or just by solving other people's problems. Not that you're stepping into, no, I'm not talking about that, being nosy and stepping into some other people's lives, but like when you look at the Philippines right now, there's a lot of challenges in our country right now. There's a lot of things that needs to be solved. So there are two groups of people in the Philippines right now: those who complain and those who do. Those are just the two groups of people. So it's your decision. You either belong to the group that complains, or you belong to the group of people that do things, and solve things. Okay, so next point is creativity a gift? And going back to my point, that we are created in the image and likeness of our God. Probably what I can say is opportunity is a gift. That because opportunity is something that we cannot necessarily dictate. Opportunity comes at different stages of our lives. So I would consider opportunity as the gift. And the creative person being faced with an opportunity creates, enjoys the process of solving problems, enjoys the process of designing in his mind based on the opportunity that is presented before him. So the opportunity is a gift, creativity is innate. It's just the magic. Magic happens when a creative person sees that opportunity, and that creative person does something about that opportunity. Then magic happens. But I tell you, at a higher level of being creative is when you get to the point that you yourself creates opportunities for other people. You see, let's say you have 8 friends. You see one of your friends, he's good at writing. You see one of your friends is good in design. You see one of your friends who is really good in talking. You see one of your friends is good in networking with people. The creative person that creates opportunity for a lot of people is knowing and discovering the best about other people, and not manipulating or not exploiting it, but stepping in to encourage that person, and hey, you're good at this, and our friend here is good at this. What if we do a project? What if we do something together and see what can come out of it? So that is the higher level of creativity, in my opinion. Again, is you get to create opportunities for people. Again, opportunity is the gift, creativity is innate. Magic happens when you do something with the opportunity presented to you. But the higher level of creativity is, what if you create opportunities for other people? Because a lot of people don't know they are creative. Like right now, a lot of people really don't know that they are creative. Now I want to talk about creativity as a problem solving tool. So I mentioned a few minutes ago that creativity is basically being able to solve existing problems. But different layers of problem solving exist. The first decision making stage for any creativity is this a problem that I want to solve? I believe in the saying that you should choose your battles. It's true that there's a lot of problems that needs to be solved, but you don't necessarily have to put it on your shoulder to solve everything. You don't necessarily have to, worry yourself to death. You don't necessarily have to, burn out just by trying to solve problems, finding solutions for problems. Part of your role as a creative person is knowing which is the best problem to solve. Why I say it's important to know the best problem to solve is because different problems, sometimes they look as problems in front of you, but sometimes on the other side of the coin, that certain problem is helping other people to exist. That problem that you see is for other people, it's already a gift. So when you step in and try to solve that problem, you practically step into the life of those people who get affected just because you want to be creative. So as a creative person, trying to solve problems in the world we live in, make sure you choose the specific problem that's closest to your heart, the specific problem that you have access to the means to solve it, the problem that you have access to people who can support you in solving that problem, because you cannot solve it all on your own. You probably draw a plan, you probably come up with strategies, you say long-term plan, short-term plan, but the idea is, if you are alone in that journey, you are, yeah, you're a great creative person, but you would live a sad, lonely life. So part of your creativity in solving problems is learn how to inspire other people, learn how to encourage other people. Talk about the problem in a way that you're not blaming people for the problem. Talk about the problem in a way that you see those problems as missed opportunities. And, encourage people. Hey, team, hey, people, I want to do something. Without even specifically saying that you're solving a problem, you just say, I want to do something. Anyone care to join me? That's it. That's the very basic test of problem solving. We always hear the phrase, think outside the box. That phrase or that saying always somehow dictates that if you think outside the box, you're a creative person. Yes and no, if you ask me. Why? Because if you think outside of the box, it's just looking at what's inside the box and hoping to go back in the box and try to solve it differently, because you just need a bigger perspective, let's say. So you went out of the box and think out of the box. But no, because um, the a box represents limitations. A box represents boundaries. A box represents process. Box represents status quo. It represents standards set by other people. And think outside the box is applicable if, let's say, you're getting paid to do work. Because when you do commission work or paid work, there are standards, there are specifications, there are guides that you need to follow. There's a box, so people pay you to make sure that you meet that box. That box is the expectation of the client, of the person that's asking you to do creative work. It's applicable to think outside the box because a box was given to you. But on a personal creative journey and a personal aspect, you should not be, that box should not even exist. Your thinking should be, you always have to have this pattern of coming up with, you know ideas, solutions, what to do next. If you're given, let's say, this is not about the box, right? If you're given, let's say, 5 by 5 feet of space to, so that 4,000 people would be impacted by what you're supposed to do in a 5 by 5 feet square area, or in a mall, in a stage. So that's a challenge, right? You can say, but that's a box. No, it's not a box, because you should see it as something that's limitless. There's no the 5 by 5 feet is what people require you. It's not a paid, I'm talking about an unpaid commission, right? This is a personal execution of, let's say, you're gonna perform, or you're gonna show people how to create stories, or how to paint, how to draw. You're just given a 5 by 5 area in a floor, but you need to impact 4,000 people. So how do you do that? That is when different creative approaches are required. You probably, the first thing that you could figure out is, how do I live stream, what I'm doing, right? The next thing is, how do I make sure that internet is not interrupted, right? How do I make sure that I have a secondary camera that's pointing at my hands if I'm doing something? It's not just a camera pointing on my face when I'm talking. All those things. Where do I put the lights? Those are small creative things, but having a light, let's say, putting a light in front of you, deciding if it should be in front of me, on my left side or on my right side, that impacts how engaging your visuals will be. Although you have a 5 by 5 feet area given to you. I hope I'm making sense here when it comes to the phrase thinking out of the box. The test of creativity is, you should be able to do, the real measure of thinking outside the box is, you should be able to break boundaries, you should be able to cross boundaries, you should be able to go beyond the limits of how something is done before. That is the fun, the fun part of being creative. That is where the glory of finding out how things can get done. So that is the process that a lot of people, like a lot of us, should really enjoy. And talking about creative process, some people would equate being busy, being creative with being busy. It's like, being productive with being busy. It's the same thing, but creativity also involves quiet space. When I teach design, I always talk about a white space, a dead air. Why? Because even in music, when you look at a musical composition, there's something that's called rest. And that can mean, the difference between a world globally popular music than something that nobody has ever heard, just because rests were distributed in the music. Even in our creative work, even in the way we think, the way we do. Rest, quietness, white space, dead air, you need a lot of those. When you are doing a layout on an A4 poster, should you fill that poster with text, with imagery, or should you add empty pockets of space in the layout? That would help people read it better. That would help people understand your literature, your design better because of the empty space, of the white space, of the dead air. So, in the process of creative work, make sure you insert a lot of those stops. I call it stops. Like if I keep talking about, let's say I'm gonna talk about something. For example, I was walking around the block last night, and it's quite late. And as I turned right, a couple of blocks away from my home, I saw this guy who's doing some weird stuff, and I don't know if I'm gonna be scared, or I don't know if should I change, turn the other way and like make a full round and go home. So that's one way of telling a story. There's no stop. There's no pause. There's no white space. There's no dead air. What if I tell it this way? As I was walking home last night, a couple of blocks away from where I live, I saw this man seemingly like a shadow doing things that I don't even understand. That made me think, should I approach this person, or should I just go the other way? So that's just an example. As you can see, it results to it's practically saying the same thing, but the execution would lead to different types of emotions. There's like a cliffhanger like scenario when you pause, when you stop, when you're telling story. In design, it equates to something that's just white or black or full color, no font. It's even if you're using an A4 and then you use half of that as a blank, a white space, a dead air, it's good. It's still good design. So those are parts of the creative process that that would help you. Next is, how do you promote your creativity to other people? Okay, this is also challenging because this is the part where a lot of creative people would really step back and say, I don't think I can do that, because it would make you prideful, boastful. And the thing about it is, there's no problem promoting your work as long as you walk the talk. There's no problem about sharing your work on social media. If you don't share your work, the thing about sharing your work is a lot of confidence results from sharing your own work on social media. But a word of caution, once you start to share your work, you should not measure the success of your work based on how people respond to what you shared. Because that is what's happening right now. When you post something and there's like 10 likes and your friend posts something that's similar and it has like 100 to 200 likes, you'd feel sad, most likely, right? Because you start to think that, I think my work is is not good enough. My friend did a better job than me. No, that's not 120% true. When you share your work, your creative work online, the measurement of your success should be in the level of joy that came out of creating. You should not work out of the desire to get validation. You should not do creative work just because you want people to say you're creative. You should not post your design, you should not post your videos, you should not post your paintings, your photography, because you want other people's validation. It's good that, I mean, it's good if you have those, with you, like if you have been around for 10, 15, 20 years. But you should not start with, I want to post because I want to, get some validation if indeed I am a creative person. That's wrong. You're doing it entirely wrong. When you share something, when you share work, the measurement of your success should be how happy were you when you're building it. The level of joy, the excitement when you choose the color, the excitement when you choose the music for your video, the excitement when you choose a camera shot for your video. That should be the measurement of your success. Creativity should be fun. It should not be, there should not be a struggle. There should not be any, and even an iota of struggle when you're doing creative work. You should remember that. And if you think you're creative right now and you keep doing work and you keep sharing it and you're up to now you're still sad, you're probably looking at your creativity the wrong way. You're probably looking at your creativity in the eyes of other person. Look at your creativity through the lens of your heart. When you do creative work, enjoy the process. Creative work, the extreme illustration that I can think of is, if you know the world is ending tomorrow, would you still do creative work today? Think about that. Would you say that it's a waste to spend, let's say there's only 15 hours left before the world ends? Is it a waste of time to still do creative work? Nope. Every second, every minute, every hour that you spend doing creative work is worth it, as long as you put your heart in what you're doing. So that's my point. So what's next? No, I mean, I keep talking about creativity. I keep talking about, like, probably you're saying that's something that intangible, that's ideal. I've heard a lot of those comments from friends, from mentors, from my seniors that, hey, what you're talking about is ideal. No, it's something that can't be achieved. I don't think so. I disagree. Because first and foremost, our world, the world we live in right now, we have a lot of people who have great ideas, and even at the stage of thinking about ideas, a lot of people are being shut down, being rejected just because of an idea. So just coming up with an idea in the world we live in is super scary. But when you think of that, idea is the most, practically, it's what I call the wasted opportunity in life. Just having an idea. What's the matter with having what's the matter with having an idea? The thing is, there's billions of people right now on planet Earth that has good ideas. I can talk about great ideas that I have in my mind, like, forever. If you can give me a week, if you can sit down one whole week just for me to talk about my idea for the last month, can talk about it. But the thing is, what we need right now is not people with ideas. What we need are people who are willing to start with something out of an idea. Unless you do something, you have an idea, good. But unless you do something that brings you closer to the realization of that idea, that's nothing. Sorry to tell you. Yeah, you can even write your ideas on paper. But unless you do something to bring that closer to reality, that's nothing. So if you think you're great at coming up with ideas, my challenge with you right now is try to be better in taking the first step, in getting closer to the realization of your ideas. That's my advice. And I think That is how I would like to end this uh, sharing with you guys, is that the next step, you probably bought like books that says 10 steps to be creative, the eight eight path of a successful creative person. I mean, the most important thing is that first step. Sit back after this webinar. Sit back, get a pen and a paper, write the first idea that comes into your mind, write it, and then just stare at it and look at that idea, and just don't stop thinking about that first step. What do I need to do first so that this idea would come out of paper? After figuring out the first step, repeat the process, thinking about the second step. I mean, it's good to read books about 8 steps to be creative. It will feed your brain how to be creative, but the thing that matter most in life is the first step that comes out of an idea. The idea that was birthed in your heart, in your mind, the idea that kept you awake at night, the idea that seemingly resists to gives you peace. That idea, the thing that matter most is what is the first step that I need to do so that this idea would come to life. So I wouldn't want to take much of your time, and probably it's quite obvious. This is a recorded version because I would like to apologize to our organizers, to our education team in the alumni community, because I have something very urgent that came before. I'm recording this on a Saturday, and the event that you're watching it today, it's a Sunday. So yeah, instead of backing out, I decided to spend a few minutes just to record what I wanted to share, because I mean, creativity is something that I always talk about in the business aspect, in tech entrepreneurship, in design, in videos. I love talking about creativity, and I love sharing about creativity, and I love inspiring people, how to really tap into their inner creative self. So I apologize if I won't be around to take any of your questions, but you can just I think Divine and the team and Ate Melrose would have a way to gather any of your questions. I'd be willing to even sit down with you for a few minutes if you have like really pressing questions. If you want to spend 5 to 10 minutes Q&A with me, we can just schedule it, as long as we keep that to 10 minutes. And I need you to prevent me from talking and spilling out of 10 minutes if we set up a 10-minute meeting with you. And you can also check out a lot of the stuff that I have done. I am on YouTube. It's not a big channel, but I teach a lot of creative stuff and fun stuff on YouTube. You can read a lot of the blogs that I've written, a lot of the work that I've done, and articles that were written about me. Like you can see it on my website. I'm showing it on my screen right now, and this is what's fun about a recorded training, is that I can play around with the visuals, and you don't get stuck with just my boring poker face, emotionless human version of me teaching. So I hope you learn something from this very short sharing, and if you are a member of our community at Ateneo LSE Singapore alumni, I encourage you to join the team. There's a lot that's happening in our community right now. A lot of people are involved. A lot of people are excited to bring in their ideas, and working towards that first step, next, second step, third step. We have a lot of projects. We now have our own YouTube channel. We just recently launched our website, and we have a lot of brilliant minds and passionate people that works with us We are all volunteers in the community, like in our education team right now that brought you this webinar. We have Ate Melrose, we have Divine, we have the likes of Mark. We have a lot of people that really supports our vision, what you want to accomplish in terms of reaching out to all of you. So if you're here and you're part of the community, and in any way you're inspired to be part of that creative process, what we're doing, if I'm to describe it in one word, it's creative work. We're doing creative stuff. So we'd like to see you, if you can join us. So that's it. I'm gonna end my recording here, and I hope you're all well and safe. So this is Robert. Subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks, guys.